the explanation gets to be distracting. Trying to fit brain, body, and mind into this system of psychology with behavior, thinking, thought, and doing. Restricting, controlling, watching, observing, and making changes. The current system with processes treating drug addicts, treating people with depression, treating people who are sad from difficulty in life. Not people who are treating JJ. Not people who are treating those who can't have a mind because their brain doesn't have the strength. In this psychology words, language, letters, they're using the brain and these letters and these words and these numbers with how many times a person walked over to that side of the wall, how many times a person's been in the kitchen now today. Reducing the number, increasing the number to get them to look better, but also making them less fat. So keeping them away from the kitchen and making sure the numbers add up and they've successfully completed their task, their objective. What I'm talking about has nothing to do with people, humans, with brains and bodies, working with other people to be as healthy and as strong as they are. These are cigarette smokers. These are religious folks and people who use their size as an advantage. They are multicultural, socially elite landlords. And they have the power from years and years and years and years when there were no cell phones, there were no Amazons to go buy books and learn. There were no laptops. To keep track of stimulus. Make a spreadsheet, and then slowly make progress with the brain, reducing the brain's need for a stimulus and calming the thinking and thought. So the day after, there's no difference. There's no hope, there's no inspiration, there's no motivation. But there's a brain and a body. And being free and enjoying freedom and appreciating freedom has to do with not going to start a revolution like Frantz Fanon, or maybe accidentally like Frantz Fanon, a psychiatrist from years ago, and organizing a group of people to go down to Olympia and say, stop. or trying to convince another person who's in this system of medicine to fight their way out. These are all more processes in the same system. The only way to have and to receive freedom in this world I'm talking about has to do with physical contact. People can dominate with their brain all they want. People can be smarter. They can be so genius and so intelligent and so amazing. In the world. The brain and the body, and maybe the mind, can't be touched unless there's a person reaching out, there's a person grabbing, there's a person assaulting. These people with their faces, these people with their ugly eyes and their glasses and their gestures and their behavioral requirements, they're at the limits of their humanness. No matter how hard they try to get in the brain where they're working towards, no matter how much they want to know about the mind, they've got to do the work on their own. And they've got to have someone willing to participate. So to eliminate the frustration, to eliminate the upset stomach, the scary sounds, and the creepy voices, body, brain, and maybe mind have to work towards consciousness. Getting very near the limits where there's a stimulus. And then making a time, and then keeping track of time to not get distracted by the social worker, counselor, landlord, cigarette smoking, short-haired woman, gender neutral assistant. And not being mean or rude or not being disrespectful, but having awareness and attention not directed towards their stimulus, not attention directed towards their requirements, but a brain working towards a goal of freedom. Knowing the world outside the door and the home in front of me now are what separates the bully from the person talking on the video now. And the more time spent out there in search of a stimulus, going to get a reward from that little lady in the office with her bobbly head, or that strong and buff man and his stare, requires sacrifice and uneasiness, losing the sanctity of thinking and thought with their requirements, their control, and their restrictions. And then they are forced, these professionals, these social worker counselors, psychological extravagant people, folks, to abuse, destroy, obliterate, ruin, and demolish people and folks for their check boxes and their form requirements and their visual identifications and their objectives. But I don't know a world aside from what I'm describing. Usually there would be or. But the sadness of today and now and the disgustingness with what I'm talking about, especially with the amount of research and the amount of data and information about better choices to make now, gets to be kind of a waste of time. And starts to be kind of like trying to turn into a different person, believing in some fantasy that there is more to life than this behavioral attention and this thinking and thought control and this doing emphasis. I stopped making sense. Even more so than trying to talk about the system of psychology and these processes of thinking and thought and doing and behavior with control and restriction and observation. The fastest, the easiest, and the most simple way to break the frustration, the blockage, the lack of thought has to do with food. Has to do with recognizing what the body and the brain need. And then from that, start going forward in time. Now. The end.